So this is rental car number 47, and today I'm driving the 2016 Toyota Corolla LE. So this is a four-door sedan that retails for about $19,000. This is a front-wheel drive car with 16-inch wheels, and it gets a very impressive 29 miles per gallon in the city and 38, can you believe it, 38 miles per gallon on the highway. For some reason, I drove a lot of Corollas back in the earlier part of this year, but I haven't driven it in probably 6 to 8 months, so I thought it'd be fun to sort of dive in and take a new look at this car. Now, unfortunately, you don't get a push-button start on the Corolla LE, but you do get a nice key with 4 major buttons: lock, unlock, the trunk button, and then a panic button. I have noticed that starting the Corolla is a little bit slower than some of the other cars I've been driving lately. Everything boots up, I'd say, in about 4 or 5 seconds, which isn't bad, but it's definitely not the quickest. The steering wheel is nice and thick, it feels really good in the hand, and I really enjoy how large the volume buttons here on the left-hand side, and then also the phone buttons here on the right-hand side. These are definitely oversized buttons compared to a lot of the other manufacturers, and I like that because it makes it really easy to interact with the vehicle. You also get a pretty big gauge cluster with speedometer, which I found very large and easy to see both at daytime and night. One thing I'm not a fan of is Toyota's cruise controls. Now, most of the other auto manufacturers have placed the cruise controls directly on the steering wheel, but not Toyota. They've tucked it down underneath the steering wheel on this little lever. The controls are fairly simple, but I don't find them to be very intuitive. The on-off button is right here on the top, and then to set the cruise, you just push the lever down, and then to cancel, you actually pull it towards you. I've actually driven a lot of Toyotas over the last, I'd say, 2 years, so I've gotten used to this, but I just don't like it. I really would prefer Toyota to stick the cruise controls directly on the steering wheel, just like all the other major auto manufacturers have done. Now, cruise controls aside, this car is actually very fun to drive. It accelerates really smoothly from, I'd say, around 0 all the way up to 70 miles per hour. You don't get any of those jolts that you get with a lot of other cars. Also, the handling is really smooth. I kind of put this car through the ringer, driving it left and right and over bumps, all kinds of stuff, and I found the experience to be actually enjoyable. It really does hug the road really nicely, and honestly, it's one of my favorite cars to drive in the last couple of months. Now, I know a Corolla isn't exactly a sexy car to buy, but honestly, this is a lot of fun to drive, and I think you should give it some consideration because, I actually had some fun driving this car, which is pretty rare for a 4-door sedan, at least for me. Another thing I really like about the Corolla is the center console. It's a pretty decent size. Now, the screen is a little dim. This is in daytime hours, and I think you can tell that it's just a little bit difficult to see. But the controls are super intuitive. You do have some dedicated buttons on the left and right side, so it's super easy to jump to whatever menu that you want to navigate to. And then once you're there, whatever you want to do is usually available in just one push of a button, which I really like. I've been driving some other cars lately where even if you want to change the radio station, you have to go through 2 sub-menus before you can actually preset all the stations. But not with this car. You press the audio button, go to radio, and then you just push and hold one of the 6 presetting settings, and it automatically sets the station in that place. The whole thing is kind of like that. It's just really simple to use and very intuitive. I also really like the climate controls on the Corolla. They're simple, you have a digital readout for the temperature, and all the major buttons are large and easy to reach. I also drove this on a fairly hot day. I think it was 89 out, and the car cooled down really quickly. I'd say within maybe 2 or 3 minutes it was comfortable, and that's after sitting in the sun for hours and hours while I was working. The seats on this one is actually really comfortable too. I think overall they're probably on the firm side, but that's kind of what I like, especially since I'm in these cars for quite a long time. I think I put 400 miles on this car in about 2 days, and I was comfortable the whole time, which is saying a lot because some of these cars, I don't know, I feel kind of constricted and uncomfortable and I have to stop and walk around for a while, but not with this one. Now, it is kind of disappointing that you don't get electronic controls to adjust the seats, but you do get, the 3 standard levers. So with a little bit of work, you can get the seat in a nice position for you. The back seats, I think, are even firmer than the front seats, maybe too firm. But you do get some nice legroom back here, and it's nice to see that you can fold these seats down really easily. You just have to sort of pull up on these little pins, and the seats fall down pretty easily. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this car is filthy. And that's not me. I'm not saying I'm the cleanest person in the world, but when I got this one, it kind of had these sweat stains all over it, which, that's kind of nasty. Alright, so since I talked about folding down those rear seats, I think we should close out by talking about the trunk. You actually get a pretty decent sized space back here. Now, the wheel wells do sort of infringe on the space towards the back of the trunk, but towards the front you get these nice extra areas where you can push things in. So honestly, I think you get a lot back here, probably more than most of the compact cars that I've been driving lately. Alright, so I know I didn't cover every square inch of this car, but I've driven the Corolla so many times I really only wanted to focus on the things that I really enjoy. So after spending about 3 days with this car and driving it well over 400 miles, I'm going to give this one 4 stars. This really is a very solid 4-door sedan. It's fun to drive, the tech is really organized, and the storage space is pretty good. Honestly, if you're in the market for a 4-door car like this, I would highly, highly recommend that you give the Toyota Corolla a chance at least. Seriously, this car is pretty fun to drive. Anyway, thanks for making it to the end. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll join me next time when I drive my 48th rental car. Thank you. See you then.